Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of From Adversity to Awakening, transforming hardships into greater spiritual connection and joy. I am here today with my very dear friend, long-term friend, and very important person in my life. You'll find out more about it in a minute. LeAnn Thieman. Welcome, LeAnn.
My joy to be with you. Thanks.
And I was just having that thought when I was having a moment before we started. I am so glad that you're here and that everybody else is here with us. And today we have a great episode about LeAnn overcoming her adversity and talking about what an amazing life she's made. So here's a little bit about LeAnn. LeAnn was a nurse in her early adulthood. And after having children, she went to a cupcake sale and got bamboozled into going to Vietnam to do Operation Babylift and brought back a lot of orphans from Vietnam during that time when Saigon was falling. And from there, she went on to write a book about her adventure and her heroic experience there, and became a motivational, inspirational speaker for people in healthcare. And that evolved into an amazing teaching that she has now that goes through many hospitals throughout the United States called health self-care for healthcare. And she teaches people who take care of others how to nurture themselves so that they can be their best selves when they come to work to nurture others. Welcome, LeAnn.
Gosh, thank you. Great
Yeah.
intro.
And is there anything else that you want to add since that was from the cuff?
I think that was perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome. So LeAnn is here today because she has a thriving life and she is many years older than she looks. Sorry to say, she looks fabulous. I don't know if that came out right. I don't know if that came out right. She looks young for her age, but I don't know how to say that right. Anyway, she has an amazing life, and she also has had some adversities that she's had to overcome. She has a lovely family and lovely work. So she's going to share with you about all that today. So why don't we start, LeAnn? Tell us about your greatest adversity or the bundle of adversities, however you want to, whatever you want to do there.
Well, thank you for this invitation. Yes, Peggy and I go back 30 years, and it's just my privilege and such a joy to be a part of your program. And when you invited me, what I was thinking was, what adversities have I had? And the one I want to share today is one that probably is not that unique to many of your viewers and listeners. And that is when you get diagnosed with an illness that you never ever expected. I'm a very healthy person, and one of my presentation, my life work is on caring for your mind, body, and spirit, and I try to practice what I preach. So I have a great diet. I exercise regularly. I hike in the mountains on Wednesdays. I
Ride your horse.
ride my horse,
Yeah.
and take really, really good care of myself. And so when I had the mammogram and then the follow-up appointment, and then to have a radiologist come into the room and say, you have cancer in your left breast. And it was just a moment of almost disbelief. And I'm sure many of the people listening to this have had that happen. You will notice that and you'll hear me talk more about this, to this day, I never say I had cancer. I never owned it. I rejected it. I refuse that phraseology. When people ask, I say I had cancer in my left breast and they removed it. I did have that surgery. The first one did not go well. And then I had a couple more surgeries. And then a year later, I had reconstruction surgery, which went beautifully. But when you ask me, how do you overcome your adversity? That was the time in my life I had to really practice what I preach and really put into action. And I absolutely believe to care for your mind, your body, and your spirit every day. And I was always doing that And then I sort of had to do that maximum, I guess. That was in my toolbox of how I got through it all.
Yeah, so that's really lucky that you had a toolbox, and it sounds like you upped your ante to sort of build your resiliency. Like like you were the challenges of everyday life you were managing, but then like comes this big huge dump of cement on your head, right? And
Right,
you're frozen under there with, could be frozen under there with fear and anxiety and fear of the future and what does this mean, and all the stuff where our mind goes. So tell us
right.
how tell us how you use your toolbox to help you to deal with it.
Well, the interesting thing is that just when you use that word, it occurred to me, oddly, I was never afraid. I
Right.
just knew that I was going to be okay. And when I had to tell our three children and had to tell my husband, I said, but I'm not afraid. I don't know how this will end, but I do know, however it ends, I'll be okay. And so I am like when you say my toolbox, excuse me, I implemented that. I always have had great diet, great exercise, and I continued all of that to really care for my body. I do believe in, and I still preach today, the human body requires, not enjoys, but requires 8 hours of sleep. So I made really close attention to just keeping up that really good practice.
Uh-huh.
The first thing the doctor told me was, and you need to walk every day. And by danged, I walked every day. I never missed a day, rain, hail, sleet. It didn't matter. And
And
then
you live in Colorado, so there is a lot of snow, there is a lot of sleet, and a lot of hail, as I would.
there can be, there
I
can
lived
be.
in Colorado, more hail than I had ever experienced
Oh,
living
really?
anywhere
Oh,
else.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I get like a lot of hail and like anyway. So
Well, I guess one of the first things I did was when I say I practice what I preach. One of the things I say in my presentations is I have my physical tools in my toolboxes to care for your with diet, exercise, and sleep, which people hear about, and my mental balance tools are breathing, positive thinking, laughter, and forgiveness. And I just began my daily breathing and the meditation that you taught me, Peg. Remember?
yes,
And I said, I'm not sure I'm meditating right. And you said, yes, you are. And you help. So I'm doing my daily meditation and my breathing every day.
very good.
And I'm a big believer in the power of positive thinking. And right from my speech is a book that I talk about from Dr. Bernie Siegel, Love, Medicine, and Miracles.
Mm.
And I got my book out. I read it again. I ordered 5 copies online to my oncologist, to both surgeons,
Mhm.
to
Good.
my nurse navigator, and said, so you know, Dr. Siegel teaches, and I do believe you can visualize the destruction of your cancer cells. And some people tell me, and it was a suggestion, you can picture white knights fighting, and I didn't want to have that in my body. And I had another one of bluebirds pecking away at seeds. And I would sit on my porch swing in the morning and I would do my meditation and my visualization of the cancer cells being eaten by these sweet little birds in my system. And the sun would come through from my porch swing. And my biggest thing is my spiritual balance. And I would just repeat over and over, Holy Spirit, heal me. Holy Spirit, fill me. Holy Spirit, heal me. And I would just picture those sun rays coming down into this left bosom and the radiation of the sun rays to help. It was about a month between my diagnosis and my surgical date. Lots of stuff had to happen in between there. So I practiced that visualization every single day. And I know it helped. I absolutely know it helped. And I don't know if the doctors and nurses all read the book. I give them a little synopsis of it because I think it's important for them to believe in that. So, and that was my positive thinking and my visualization.
Well, I love that you not only took time every single day to have these visualizations of the cancer cells being eaten up and having the rays of the sun heal your body like that, but also that you encouraged your team, your healing team, your doctor, your nurses, the other people on your support team, to also have the mindset of this this is something that can heal. We can create a miracle here. And
That's right.
I think that that is such, a lot of people will get sick or something like that and say, okay, it's all up to me. But I love this point that you're making about having your team get on board with you. And I was just listening to Tony Robbins yesterday, and he said, like, if you want to make a change in your life, there's these three things that you do: the strategy, which is like what you do, but this is in reverse: strategy, and then the story you're telling yourself, limited or not limited. And the third thing, the first very thing, is your state. And I thought about it in bed going to sleep last night. And it's like, yes, the foundation of the whole thing is your state of mind. That is the ground from which all the seed of all other thoughts and all other, thoughts create action, action create achievement, achievement creates feelings. That's the whole thing, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Moment to moment, your state
yeah,
of mind.
yeah,
Absolutely. And we have a lot more power to control that. I often say our minds are computers and we control the input. And I just decided and I that I was going to take as much control of this with the God I believe in, that and do everything in my power to have a positive outcome. And that's why when my kids would, at the end of all of my texts and everything, I would write, all is well, because I knew all is well. And I had positive affirmations that I repeated every single day. These are the tools I teach, and so I did that, and I expected to get well, and I knew I would. And then you watch for all these little things like the Dove chocolates come in like a little foil wrapper, and there's a little saying inside. And the thing I kept saying to my kids and to everybody, and my doctors and everybody, my friends and worried family members, I said, I got this. I got this. Don't worry. I got this. God and I got this. And I opened up my Dove chocolate, and the message on the inside of the foil said, you got this. And I got two of those. That
one of
which brings me to the whole spiritual part of it. And this was a spiritual journey.
Well, that's what this podcast is about how the challenges help us strengthen our spiritual connection. And in your case, I mean, I think in everyone's case that it happens, but that it may be to different degrees of overt spirituality. You did more communicating with God and having the prayers and having the affirmations that were about God healing and all that. So, you'd be on the one side of the scale. But I do think, anyway, so
Well,
how,
and part of the reason I did so well with all of this is because
tell us.
I I have this foundation of taking care of my mind, body. I went into it a healthy person. I went into it a positive minded person. So I encourage listeners not to wait for an adversity to develop these resiliency skills, because then I had those. I for years, for 50, 60 years, I have stopped. It began every morning with prayer and meditation and inspirational devotional readings and so forth. So I had
And getting
that
on the floor
foundation.
and stretching. So LeAnn and I both belong to the National Speakers Association, and we share a room at the conferences, at the national conferences. And she would always get up in the morning earlier. I mean, we both I get up earlier to meditate, and you'd get up early and you'd be on the floor stretching, and you'd be doing your breathing and your meditation. And I'm here to say that I witnessed, yes, that everything she's saying is true. Yeah. And I love that you're telling people to not wait till adversity comes to start to practice this, because you already had strong resiliency muscles by the time that this adversity came knocking on your door.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And when you speak to the spirituality of this, and I appreciate you saying thank you for sharing that with the team, that Bernie Siegel with Love Medicine and Miracles, you need all three. And I didn't hesitate to do this at all. And people are just astounded when I tell them that I said to my doctor before I hired him, and both of them happen to be male, though I have a female oncologist. But I said to them each in separate appointments, I said, if I ask you to pray with me before my surgery, what would you say? And the first doctor said, I'll be praying anyway. So I'll be praying with you. And the second doctor said, that'd be okay. So they wheeled me into the OR. And right away, before I got to the OR, that first doctor, I said, I want the anesthesiologist. I want the entire team in the OR. And the first time they came to my little pre-op room, and he led us in a prayer. Then I told her I had several surgeries after that. And each time they wheeled me into the OR, and I'd say to the nurses, even, they're standing over there, there's a scrub nurse. I said, come around. And I said, I just need 60 seconds. And they're waiting with scalpel in hand and so forth. But here's the thing, I prayed for them. That God would guide their hands and thank them for their healing and the faith that I had in them being his vessels to cure me and other people. And it took about 60 seconds, and amen. And I've had the physicians thank me for that afterwards. I guess nobody had ever done that before. But I also know that was a part of my healing. I know. And I asked them what music they're playing during it. And I said, there'll be only positive talk while I'm under anesthesia.
No
And
AC/DC.
Pardon me?
No AC/DC.
No AC/DC, and no negative talk about world events. And
yes, exactly.
he said, what music would you prefer? I said, something spiritual. And I said, what are you going to play? And he said, he said, I like something faster than that. I said, well, you know what? You're the surgeon. I want you to feel real comfortable in there. And so he said, I'm going to play Bob Seger's Old Time Rock and Roll. That's my favorite.
He said that out of all the songs in the world.
Because you know, Peggy, that's my favorite.
I know. That is whenever we're at the dance and that song comes on, LeAnn is always on the dance floor and rocking and doing the jitterbug like nobody you've ever seen. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious and astounding that that's what he said. I mean, that was like a mini miracle.
Oh, God has his hand in all of this. Absolutely. And when you have that faith, you don't have to be afraid of it. That's why I think I had no fear. I never thought I was going to die from this.
Yeah.
And yet I thought if I did, all is still well.
That is.
I'm very comfortable with my spirituality. I know where I'm going. But I never thought I would, and I didn't. And I went to the doctor, and they said, well, you know what, LeAnn, it's been 5 years. And I went, whoa, what? Wait, I'm 5 years out. And so I had this little prayerful celebration that all is well. All is still well.
It's so beautiful. I'm going to get to some other questions about your challenge and how it transformed you, but I would like for you to share with our audience a little bit about Operation Babylift, because it is such, I mean, for me, it's your origin story. It's the place where you sort of got that self-care is where it's at. And it gave you, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, what I'd love for you to share about your adventure.
I'm really good at saying this now in just about 2 deep breaths. You ready? At the end of the Vietnam War in 1975, I was a volunteer for Friends of Children of Vietnam and agreed to go to Saigon to escort 6 babies back to their pre-assigned adoptive homes. But by the time I got there on April 1st, bombs were falling. President Ford had okayed Operation Babylift, and I was only there 5 days, but instead of bringing out 6 babies, I helped to bring out 300.
300.
300, yep. And the first batch was 100 babies in a C-141 cargo jet. We put 22 cardboard boxes side by side. We put 2 to 3 babies in a cardboard box and flew them to the United States.
What an amazing thing. And also, you're coming up on your 25th or 30th anniversary.
50. 1975. It's 50 years this April. Unbelievable. I know. No wonder I have gray hair.
And Arctic blonde. Come on.
Arctic blonde. Yes, Arctic blonde.
So will I know several years ago you had a reunion, and will these then babies, now adults, be coming to commune there in
Many
Washington?
times they do. We had a 25th anniversary and about 100 of them came. Now there were multiple, altogether 3,000 babies were
3,000.
rescued at the end of the war.
Wow.
And by 7 different agencies. So my part was just small and all of that. But the first anniversary, there were at 25th anniversary, there were 100 young men and women, many of whom I helped to bring out. So it'll be fun. I understand some are coming, so it'll be great to see again.
Yeah, and one of the babies that LeAnn brought home is her son, and she tells a beautiful story about how she walked into the orphanage and a baby came across the floor and crawled up and sat in her lap and looked in her eyes and silently said, "I'm yours."
Yep. Yep.
Beautiful.
That's another miracle.
That's another miracle. Yes. Okay. So back to our podcast, but thank you for sharing about that. And also just to say that that experience, I think, gave you wrote a book about it, and that it gave you then a platform to, or your story created an intrigue about your experience, and that allowed you to then begin to talk to nurses and doctors about how important it is to care for yourself when you're caring for others, because so many people in that helping profession lose themselves in always caring for others. So it was just such a it wasn't just an event, it was an event that
No,
created a foundation for you helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
that's exactly, and never my intention. And isn't that usually the way God works? It's a good thing. It's a good thing we don't know He's got in store for us. If somebody would have said, do you want to fly into a war zone and rescue babies? I would have said no. And yet you just follow those leads along the way. And you're right. I mean, when we got back we had 2 birth daughters and Mitch, and I was quite happy being a nurse and a mom and a wife, and then a nursing organization to which I belonged asked if I would give a speech on lessons I learned from Operation Babylift. And as you know, Peggy, I had no intention of ever being a speaker, but I knew then, in order to cope in the war zones of our lives, and we don't have to be in Vietnam to be in a war zone, we have to be strong of mind, body, and spirit, and therefore we have to nurture ourselves in these 3 ways every day. So as you know, I wrote a speech called Balancing Life in Your War Zones. Later on, I wrote a book called Balancing Life and built a whole career on balancing life, teaching people to care for their minds, bodies, and spirits. And then hospitals wanted more, so I developed a year-long program now with 3 different years of self-care for healthcare with videos and an app and all that.
3 sequential years.
That's correct.
Yeah, because everybody is getting so much out of it. They keep saying, "LeAnn, we need more."
We do another year, sure.
Please
We do another. Well, okay.
Please keep teaching us how to care for our mind, body, and spirit. That's so beautiful. I mean, what an amazing, and I just want to say that yes, miracles happen, but for those who are listening, those who are listening to the whispers of the guidance of spirit or higher self or whatever you want to call it, God, lots more miracles happen, and your life is such a testimony to that. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, and that's where you teach too. You have to be still. You can't hear the deep inner voice in the chaos. And when I just remind people to take just 10 or 15 minutes a day to be still. And before we started this podcast, all you listeners, you probably know, Peggy said, "LeAnn, before we start, we're going to be still and take a few minutes." And we each connected with our source and our higher power and asked for the guidance of the words that I'm to share with you today. And Peggy knows, for goodness sakes, I can talk and talk and talk. And just so be sure I find just the right words that serve the best today.
Yes, and you, like me, my mom used to call me Chatty Cathy. Little did she know it would become my profession.
Exactly. And my 2nd grade teacher called me Gabby Hayes. So yes, it's all coming full circle.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about how your transformation and moving through those challenges help to increase your spiritual connection. And yeah, that part first. So, I
Well, I
mean,
think
maybe
it
it did it.
heightened it.
Maybe it was already established. I don't know. Did it impact it to some degree?
It was very well established.
Yeah.
I was raised by a really wonderful Catholic family. I have maintained my Catholic faith all these years. I always say daily prayers. I started meditating and doing daily devotions as soon as I got married and taking that time every day. So thank God, and I do, that I had that foundation,
Right.
and yet the thing that happened that is kind of hard to explain is I just, and I really appreciate sometimes when people do a real outreach and let all their friends and family know I need all the contact and all the support I can get. And some people go on Caring Bridge, and that's a fabulous resource. And that's how they heal. Is I need to reach out and let my family and friends know so that I can get all this support to help me through this. And the strangest thing for me, maybe it doesn't seem strange to you because you know me so well, but I didn't do any of that. And Peggy didn't know for a long time. All I knew was with Mark and me and my family and God, that's all I need. And that's where I wanted to put all of my energy every day,
Right.
was just keeping my kids informed and my few close friends that lived near here, people that lived away from me. But Peg understood that. That's the beautiful thing about our friendship is when it was over and I called Peggy and I told her about it, you completely understood, girlfriend. You knew that I needed to do it my way, but I was just so I just I just was so much connected to the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and God, and just knew that that's where my strength lied, and that's where I put all my energy,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm better.
When you told me about it, I immediately knew that you had it. That like I got it. I knew that you had faith that nothing was going to this was this even like you said earlier, no matter what the outcome, you would be okay.
Mhm.
So
All is well.
that's right. And I mean, what an incredible place to move through a challenge from, and what an incredible place to live from. Yes.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yes. I
Truthfully.
mean, to me, that's the like the foundation of a strong spiritual connection is when you know that all is well, then that means that you're like connected because life goes on. And
Right.
and
Right.
things change and challenges come and go, but through it we're always here. We're always, we're okay. So
Right.
yeah, so tell us about a little bit about how did the all of this, and especially as I mean, okay, I'm going to ask it as a question. As you move through doing the prayers and the affirmations and being with your team, professional and family, your family, did you experience um like did your spiritual connection create more joy in your life, or have you noticed it since then? How did working through the adversity impact that?
It just strengthened it even more, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of a simple answer, but honestly, it really is the and I've always come from a place of gratitude, and you and I have had many conversations about this, and yet that's one of the things I teach and preach, and that yeah, you have an even deeper sense of gratitude when you come through something like this with such success, and gratitude that I was given the tools, that I was have the personality, and that I said yes to the opportunities in my life before that allowed me to have the tools to just be strong and to get stronger. And I think all this has made me even stronger.
And it's not just having the tools, it's using the tools.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that
Right.
big difference. Like a lot of people, maybe read a book about something, or Louise Hayes or Tony Robbins or whatever, these people that are, you can heal yourself kind of people, but they don't put the information to use because they get overshadowed by the negativity that can come about. And that's the big challenge. So, but I want to know if you could explain specifically how you experience more joy in your life, like with your grandkids or with your this or with your that, or, I mean, maybe you don't, but I'm just
Sure,
curious.
I do.
Of course, I know you do because we just had a long conversation the other day and I was like, oh my God, you're thriving so beautifully.
Well, I think we have to create joy in our lives. We can't just. I guess I talked about my four mental balance tools is breathing and positive thinking, and the other is laughter and forgiveness. And I do believe in laughter and in creating joyful moments in our lives and surrounding ourselves with the people that bring that joy to our lives and making occasion to. We have a lot more power to choose in our lives, I think, than we exercise. And often we give that power of choice away to society and other people, and we all have the same number of hours in a day,
Yes.
and it's up to us to choose how we use them. And I really do believe I seek joy. I work hard at our marriage, which I just told you was 55 years. We work hard at it. We play hard at it. We make sure that we continue to bring joy into each other's lives. I have three marvelous kids. Two of our kids have wonderful husbands, and I have great grandchildren, and I make occasion
You
to
have
go
great
be with them.
grandchildren?
Pardon me?
You
I have
have
four grandchildren.
four grandchildren. Oh, I
Yes.
thought you said great grandchildren.
Oh, no. Oh, pardon me. I have four grandchildren who are great.
Oh,
That's what I meant to say. I probably did say great grandchildren. My hair's not that gray yet. But I make occasion. I pick them up from school and they didn't have to be picked up from school just so I can be with them. I make family vacations and reach out to them. And I went to the campus to take him out to lunch yesterday, even though he's 22. And because all those things bring joy. And I seek laughter and I look for joyful things. And I avoid negative things. When I
yeah,
was going through this adversity, I quit watching any TV show that had any murder or anything negative in it,
very good.
because I don't want that seed implanted, and we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
control, like I said, what we put in our minds, and so we can actually, I think we can add a lot more joy to our life, surrounding ourselves with the people, and sometimes letting go of the stinking thinking people if you can, and be very intentional with the people that you surround yourself with and what you read and what you watch. And we make a point to watch funny movies regularly just to laugh.
Very good. What's the best funny movie you've watched lately?
Oh gosh,
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
yeah, you did. Golly, we just watched one the other night. Oh, an old Steve Martin movie. It is so old. We deliberately,
which
that's funny
one?
you asked. We deliberately both said, remember when Steve Martin was in The Jerk? Oh my gosh, that was in 1980s, I think. We
I
found it online and we watched it and laughed again.
when I was packing to move for my house, I kept saying, "Oh, and I need this, and I need this." I
That's
I
all I need.
I had
For people who haven't seen the
exactly.
movie,
I
that's
only
all
need
I
this,
need
and
is just
my
this
helper.
remote.
I had a helper there with me, and he was in his mid-30s or early 30s, so he didn't have any.
He didn't get any, yeah, they
I was
don't
like,
get
this
it.
is really funny movie. It's Steve Martin. And he's walking down the street, his pants are halfway down, falling on his, he's holding his lamp and his teddy bear, and he's like, I just need this, I just need that. And
That's all I
when,
need.
when you're moving, it's an endless, like, oh, do I really, every object you pick up, do I need this? Do I want
Yes.
there's a lot of you have to sift through, you have to answer that question quite a lot, and I just that process anyway. So what I love about what you just said was that we have more choices than we maybe think we do, and this is something that I really want to just put a little light on, is that, and not just, and you mentioned friends and family and information and entertainment going in. But also you talked about thoughts and we have choice about our thoughts, right? Because that creates a
Absolutely.
whole foundation. So anyway, I love that, and that all of those choices can create more joy for you. And yeah, I love that. And I mean,
And just be
yeah,
deliberate about seeking it. Very
yeah,
deliberate, very intentional.
yeah. I mean, in any culture, you go anywhere in the world, and what do people want for their children? They want them to be happy. They want them to happy and healthy. But if you're not healthy, it's hard to be happy. So
Mhm.
I think we could just boil it down to say being happy. And there's so many great things that we can do, even when adversity comes knocking on our door. So
That's right.
yeah, you have been, this is an amazing story. And I wonder if you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our audience.
Gosh, you did such a good job getting all those points from. I think that what you just said is just to be very intentional and know that you should be caring for your mind, your body, and your spirit now, so that when you do face adversities, and I'm sure everybody listening has, and we're going to have many more, so to pay attention and take even 15 minutes a day to be very intentional about what you're putting into your mind and your body and your spirit.
Thank you, LeAnn. Do you have a book that's available, or any kind of, is there any place where people can um
My Balancing Life in Your War Zones book is on Amazon.
uh-huh
And if that's the one that um, has all these things about which
or you
I tell Mark, I was going to say, this is what I advocate, because I joke with Mark, I don't nag, I advocate. So I'm
very good.
advocating for all these people to take care of themselves.
Well, I mean, that's such a great, they are so blessed to have you. And the other way you can get more information from LeAnn is to become a nurse and and be working in a hospital, and be working in a hospital that's blessed with her program called Self-Care for Healthcare, because you'll get 1 to 3 years of encouragement, information, education, inspiration, humor, and blessings around how to care for your mind, body, spirit. So, LeAnn, I want to thank you for being here with us. You've done an amazing, hearing your story is amazing. And thank you for what you've done to really listen inside on how to maximize your impact in the world, given given your experiences, your amazing testimony to what can happen, and how one voice, how one person can actually impact so many people.
Well, thank you. You blessed me for saying so.
Yeah,
And
and
everybody else can do that too.
exactly. And I mean, I'm like thinking of Tony Robbins right now, and like he's a guy who gets up on stage and screams and make a lot, and not screams, jumps up and down and makes a lot of hoo ha. And you're so not ever been about, oh, look at me, or oh, here I have the solution for you. You're just doing your life. And then all these opportunities to give these blessings to people have unfolded in front of you. So,
Well, it's been a privilege for sure.
yeah, good. Well, thank you for being with us.
My
Everybody,
joy, thank you. Thank you very much, all of you.
yeah. And everybody, stay tuned for, yeah, check in next week. No, not next week, in 2 weeks or a couple weeks for our next episode. And I wish you all to face your adversities with the things that LeAnn is talking about today, strengthening your mind, your body, and your spirit. And we'll see you next time. So long for now.